enjoying that cold? Oh, I'm so parched. Got a little chilly, didn't it? Wow. So it's like snowing in Florida, Texas, and like up here in New Jersey, it's like 7 degrees, 11 degrees. The wind was like blowing like hurricane strength. It's a little brutal, it's a little chilly, but nevertheless, the show must go on. So today was warmer, and by that I mean relatively, I think it was like in the mid-20s, which felt like a heat wave compared to it being like in the single digits or 11 or 15 degrees with that wind. Today it wasn't too windy. So I decided to, I wasn't sure if I was going to go out and exercise today or go out and do my thing or not. But I think I took the last day or two, a couple days off because the weather was so bad. So I said, I'll go. It was even late. I was cleaning up, got a leak under the bathroom sink, and I was doing stuff. And I'm like, I'm not going to go. So I went, and it was cold. It was cold. It was cold. So this is like crazy me out in, this is just today. It was like freezing, like probably 25, 27 for you who do not F in C. It's maybe -3, -4, probably in that range. And temperature. It's frozen. It's like ice. He's crazy, all right. It's like ice. Ice and snow everywhere. The ground is frozen. I'm like slipping. It wasn't too windy though, so it wasn't too bad. So I did a couple miles today out there in the tundra. Did my running around. A few errands. Again, just like got back and sat down. I'm exhausted, but here I am doing this. Thanks for stopping by. You don't know, my name is Michael. I'm a women's photographer from here in New Jersey, and we put on this little show where we answer questions about women's photography. So thanks for stopping by. You know, as we always talk about, it's a wild, wild world out there, and it's not so easy to find a women's photographer, kind of the opposite as you may think, and it's a minefield. So we're here to answer some questions, give you good information so that way you can make a smart choice when you're choosing your photographer and not walk away with disappointment. So that's what we do. And every week we answer a different question, chat about it a little bit, so that way you can become well informed about the crazy world of boudoir photography and not wind up in the wrong hands. And it's a lot easier to happen than you may think. So while I'm out there freezing, thinking, what am I going to talk about like this week? And I'm going to cover a topic we did probably, maybe not a year ago, but close to a year ago. And I just received another question about this, talking about boudoir parties. So we're going to get into that a little bit today. And if you didn't listen to last week's show, that was a good one too. We were talking about these wild women of boudoir. Like, which group is the wildest? Which group? I'm not going to give the answer away, but that was a good episode. So you can head back one show and listen to that one after you listen to this one. That was a good, more fun episode. You know, sometimes we have some fun. Remember, boudoir photography can be fun. It's not all doom and gloom and healing and misery, sadness, victimization. It's just fun. So last week was a fun show. Today we're going to talk about the world of boudoir parties, what they are, how to get ready. You know, it's not like a huge part of my business. You get a couple groups, not a lot, but you get a couple groups coming in who want to come in together for some type of event. Usually it's a bridal group, but it could be for other occasions as well. And so this a lot of this is coming from a blog post I wrote too a while ago. It's a very popular kind of blog post because it was like people, like women, like people don't organize well. And like women were really struggling to do this, and I don't understand why. So I kind of like just started talking about, listen, I don't want to be hearing from like 4 or 5 different women. I don't want to repeat myself like all this 5 or 6 times. Have one person be like the point of contact, have them chat with the group. It's a lot kind of smoother and easier. So we're going to talk about, if you're interested in getting involved or setting one of these up, what to do, how to work it, how to organize it, what it's all about. Because apparently it's a little bit more complicated than people think. Didn't seem so confusing to me until you got involved with people trying to organize something. Then they were like all over the place. So we're going to try to give you some tips today to kind of work your way through the organization and execution of a boudoir party. So if you're considering that, it'll go much smoother for you. And that's exactly what you want. And so what is it? Is it a room full of music with a bunch of people dancing? No, that would be fun though. So really what it means is just a group of women that come in, like I said, usually for an occasion, like say a bridal group. Sometimes they do it for birthdays or something like that, where you get 4, 5, 6, 7 women coming in and each do kind of like a small photo shoot. And usually, I don't know, in our case, these women are drinking, eating, you know, so I guess in a sense it is kind of like a party, except we don't have the there's sometimes music playing. Should be a boudoir dance party. That would be kind of cool. And then you spend a few hours doing some photos. And usually in my experience, it's kind of people do this and then they're moving on to do another activity kind of on that wedding day. They're all going out, or the bridal party group is all going out for dinner, or the girls that come in are going out for a birthday dinner or something like that. So usually it's a prefix to like another event or an occasion in that day. So we're going to get into that kind of a little bit. It's fun. You know, it's got to keep people organized, and I think there are a couple miscalculations people make in this. So we're going to get into some of the key steps for throwing a boudoir party. So get out your paper and pencil. Give you a few moments. Take notes. Jot this stuff down. If you have a question, just raise your hand. I'm not calling out you. Don't shout out. Just got to raise your hand and I'll call on you. And we'll get into this a little bit. You want to know about boudoir party? Come to the right place. So, usually when this idea sort of comes up and, you know, ooh, this sounds fun, we're going to do this for Janie's wedding, or whatever the case may be, I'll get a call from somebody and, you know, discuss some of the details. And then maybe, I'll have my friend Dana, and then someone else calls, wanting to know the details, and another person will call, wanting to know the details, and then, you know, you have like all these conversations. You don't remember who you told what or who you're talking to, and you're repeating yourself like sort of over and over and over again. So I've always think that in this group of women, you gotta like choose your boudoir captain. That's always been my kind of philosophy. And this captain is like the main point of contact with the photographer. They organize everything. They disseminate the information to the group. That way I'm talking to somebody, they're informing all the people in the group. That way the photographer doesn't have to have 35 conversations with a bunch of different people. There's miscommunication. You don't remember, you know, and it just gets very, very confusing that way. And I understand everybody wants to know the details or may have some individual questions, and I'm not talking about that. I'm happy, you know, where photographers will be happy to answer individual questions, but I'm talking about just too many streams of information coming back and forth, and it's always going to lead to confusion and complications. So the first thing that you should do, if your group is looking to throw a boudoir party, put one person in charge. Pick your boudoir captain, They're the person reaching out to the photographer, doing all the discussions, getting all the details, and sending that out to the group. Just choose someone reliable. Every group has Miss Reliable, Mrs. Reliable in there, misorganized. Someone always with the notes and stuff like that. So that's the person you want to pick as your captain. Who's organized? Not the messy people. Pick someone organized, and that way they can share that information with everybody else, and it makes things much, much smoother for your group navigating this party. And as I said, it's not that anybody else has a question that can't reach out about a specific thing and chat with somebody, but it's just the organization. There's a lot of this. Maybe this day, and maybe this day, and then you'll get someone else going, ooh, maybe we're going to use this day instead of that day. Maybe we're going to push it back a month. When we talk to another person, no, we're going to bump it up a month. I don't know. So you get all this crazy stuff going on between these people. So pick one person, pick your boudoir captain, just all the dates, all the details, and have that person talk to the photographer, and then in turn disseminate that information to your group. So step one, appoint your boudoir captain. And then number 2 is gathering your group. And we'll chat a bit about like the ideal group size, because you don't want it too big. I would say, you probably at the most want to be in 4 to 6 people, and it can be smaller. And there's a few reasons for this. And number 1, you only got so much time that you're going to be there. Like I said, a lot of these events, especially for like bridal events, people are coming in, they're doing all makeup and hair and stuff and doing their photo session, and then they're off to some kind of other event. Like they're all, after that, going out to a brunch, or they're going out to a dinner, or whatever the case may be. So it's fun to get ready, and you got to move on. But, these events too usually aren't full-fledged photo shoots for everybody. They tend to be sort of shorter, and this could be, again, arranged ahead of time. But if you're coming in with like 12 women, it's not good. It's just not a good situation. It's like way too many. What are you going to do? Be there for like 7.5 hours taking photos? It's just like too many people. You're going to do makeup. Now, that you show up with like 12 people in a bridal party. You know how long it takes to do makeup for that? Those makeup artists are showing up at like 4 a.m. and they're doing makeup till like noon for that many people. It takes like an hour or more per person. And for a situation like this, we're not sitting there doing makeup for like 6, 7, 8 hours to have like that many people. So you got to keep your group smaller. And then everybody, too many people, they're not going to get any photos or a lot less photo time. So usually 4 to 6 people is ideal. Optimal can be fewer. And, this is a good balance between fun and individual attention and inclusivity. Make sure everyone is, taking part or going to have some decent photo time. And then another kind of like strange thing is that I have run into is that people in these groups, just assume someone wants to come in and do this. And then if you are your captain make sure everybody actually wants to participate. Because I've had groups where someone has come in and like had no intention of taking part and really didn't want to be there. Just have people come in who want to be there, who's comfortable and people who want to participate. And I know the idea that someone just may want to hang out. Yeah. And sometimes there's someone comes along who just wants to hang out with the rest of the people, but just kind of let the photographer know, again, if somebody is coming along just to watch rather than to get involved. Again, this just leads to a lot of confusion. So if there is a group, couple people coming that aren't participating in the shoot for whatever reason, just let the photographer know and makeup artist know and everything. So that way 12 people don't come walking in and they're expecting 5 or something like that. And everyone's like, what's going on? We're never going to get time for all these people. So again, that's up to this boudoir captain to make sure that, there's clear communication, how many people are coming in. Don't force people to come in who don't want to be there. And if you are bringing someone along who's not partaking, let's know, oh yes, Jane's coming along. she really doesn't want to do the shoot. She's just going to be hanging out with everybody and having some champagne cocktails or what everybody's drinking. Great, okay, that's fine. Just give us a heads up if that's what's happening. That's fine. So you got to work out all these details. Who wants to participate or not? And again, you would think it's so simple, but it's not. Because just because you have like 8 people in your bridal group, not everybody may want to be boudoir people, So, you have to chat with everybody. Captain, of the 8 people, do 4 want to do this? If really only 1 or 2, is it really worth doing it? So you have to have a good percentage of that group. And then if someone wants to come along and not participate, that's fine. Just let the photographer know there'll be X people coming too, just to be there and not taking part in the session. So they know, and the makeup artists know how many people are actually getting photographed, so they can divide the time accordingly. And like I said, it gets important, and we'll see why in a moment. And also, part C, B, or C, or whatever we're up to, is that kind of what we talk about on this show often is finding the right person to do this job. And I'm not going to get too into this because there's a whole bunch of episodes on this show and a whole bunch of blog posts on my website talking about how you need to find the right photographer, and so I'm not going to go too crazy with this. Avoid the cupcake queens, avoid the MLM failed boss babe photographers, avoid the healers. By now that there's a lot of wacko boudoir photographers out there, a lot of bad boudoir photographers out there, and Google doesn't know if somebody's good or not. Google doesn't know if anybody has any technical excellence. Google doesn't know if the photographer's outsourcing your private photos to Asia for somebody to edit. So and the boudoir captain needs to do a bit of work to find a suitable and talented photographer for your project. So that could take a little bit of time. And so, again, we'll cut that short. I can go on for an hour talking about how hard it is to find a good photographer. So we'll assume you find one in your area that's qualified. It takes a little bit of work to do. And, you got to make sure they're specialists in boudoir. Look at the photos. And as I always say, you got to call, you got to talk, you got to ask them the right questions. How long have they been a pro? How long have they been interested in photography before they became a pro? What's their privacy policy? Because you do not want your cute little bridal photos winding up all around the world or sitting on a laptop that gets stolen by her ex-boyfriend because they broke up and now he wants the MacBook back, and you and all your friends' naked photos are all on a laptop and being spread all around the place. So, boudoir photographers, your privacy is generally an afterthought, and security. So, like I said, it's a mess. You got to take a lot of time and find somebody that is competent to work with. And then we'll assume you've done your homework there. And when you're chatting with the photographer, as I touched on a bit before, you got to talk about your group preferences. As I noted, how many people are coming in. If someone else is coming that's not going to take part, we'll forget about them for now. We have 4 women that want to do this. We have 5 women that want to do this. And then you really have to, again, have a little bit of a chat with your group before you even get too involved in this. Because remember, boudoir costs money. It's not exactly a budget activity. So if you've got like 5 women that want to come in, and one of them has a budget of like $70 for this, and the other budget has a budget of $50 it's probably not for them. And if you're finding a photographer that's going to do something like this for $50, you just should not be going to that photographer. Just please tell me you will not be doing that. So you want to make sure everybody coming in at least has a suitable budget to get something like this done. That may vary from area to area or what you're doing. Do you guys want individual photo books or albums? Do you just want some digital photos? Do you expect hair and makeup to be done, which usually is a part of these sessions, like I said, because people like to sit there, they're chatting and drinking with their mimosas, and usually we're snacking, getting makeup, and that's part of the whole experience. And like I said, typically after these sessions, the group is all, ready to go with hair and everything. And usually there's another stop after this. They're going out to dinner, they're going out to a club, they're going out to do something, so they're all ready to go. So that's part of it. Hair and makeup, if that, talk with a photographer about that. Talk whether everybody just wants individual photos. Do they want group photos as well? You got to get into all of this with the photographer, and here's like why. Because there's a lot of ways to break this down. Like I said, everybody may have a different budget. Everybody may have a little bit of a different kind of thing that they want from a session like this. And sometimes, like in my instances, often, not always, but some of the time, like the rest of the women coming in are chipping in to like maybe pay for the bride or pay for the bride's album, or sometimes they want the bride to have like a little bit of a longer session so she can get almost like a full boudoir album in it, and the rest of the women will have a little bit of a shorter session. And there's like a bunch of ways that this sort of can be divided up. So before, you guys may want to chat about how you want to approach this. Is everybody going to have like sort of the same? Is the bride going to have a little bit longer? Is everybody paying equally? Because everybody may not be getting the equal things. Not everybody may want albums. So it's not necessarily the case everyone's prices are going to be the same. Is everyone going to pay individually? Is there some kind of a package deal from this photographer? So you really have to chat with everybody and find out, because usually there isn't like packages for like 6-7 women coming in. It's kind of all a la carte based on budget and kind of preference. So if you can have that chat ahead of time and say, oh yeah, our group's coming in, we got 5 women, and Jody, the bride, really, we want to give her a bit of a longer session, and the girls are going to chip in to get her an album or pay for part of the album for her. She wants to use this as a gift for her wedding. And the other 4 women, we're just going to do like a shorter session and maybe get a real small photo book with 6 or 7 photos in it. We just want to keep those simple. It's more of us about having a good time, having a few laughs, and then the photographer with that information can sort of, give you guys pricing and timing, how long that's going to take, and so forth. So doing a little homework there can be helpful as far as thinking about how you want to handle that when you talk to the photographer, and that way they can have a better idea of how to quote you guys and figure out what everybody wants to do. And then also, in these situations, again, boudoir parties aren't usually time-based or outfit-based. Like you may see some old out-of-the-loop photographers charging by the bra. Come in and wear 4 bras. This package, you wear 3 bras. Just if someone starts talking to you about like something like that, it's just bananas. Don't choose that photographer, because usually in these kind of sessions, again, you want to keep them a little bit smaller, because if you are doing makeup and everybody's coming in, it can take some time to have 4 or 5 women getting makeup. It can take a while, and you don't want people sitting around going, oh, I've been sitting here doing nothing for like 4.5 hours. I'm waiting my turn for makeup. And then people get, you have to keep things kind of like flowing. So usually, even if women are getting their makeup ahead of time done by their own and come in and just want to do photos, that's fine as well. But you got to keep the party going, and you want to keep it a little bit smaller, so that way you can keep rotating through women and keep everybody in the action. And you don't want people sitting around for 2 or 3, 4 hours before you've even got a chance to do photos with them, because they get very bored. Talk to the photographer how they handle something like this. And usually, the idea is, when I do it, we just rotate through women. One woman comes in, we do a few photos, and they take a step to the side, and the next woman does a couple pictures. So that way they can all feel involved, and everyone's doing something, and they're all watching what's going on. And we just rotate, and we get outfit change or something, go to a different room of my building, and bring everybody in and rotate photos through, so that everybody keeps moving. No one's sitting in a room for 4.5 hours because you're focusing on one woman, and everyone else is sitting in a room doing nothing for 90 minutes, and they don't know what's going on. And it's a group, so they want to be together. So some photographers have a good system for this. So just make sure that it's not going to be some weird thing where they're charging you by bras, or photographers are sort of very nutty. So get those details up front and how the flow is going to go. If you're doing makeup, maybe some women get there a little bit earlier, so that way people don't have to be sitting around for a long time, and or they're doing their hair outside, because that could take some time. So you just want to minimize that prep time to a certain degree. Can you guys bring along drinks? Can you bring in food, or can food be provided? Because usually that's fun to snack and chat and everyone get their hair. Or in some cases, we've had multiple makeup or hair artists there. Again, that makes that prep time go faster if there's multiple women, and people like to talk when they're getting their makeup done. So the key is to keep things moving and find out how they handle that in that situation. And you can't do this, and this is another point, usually this takes some time to prepare, and I'm talking weeks to organize something like this. Usually it's not a great last minute thing. You can't like wake up at the spur of the moment and say, oh yeah, I think, without talking to anybody in their group, oh yeah, I think we're going to do this next Friday, and they like think you're going to put this all together in like a week, because usually it's not going to happen. So usually you have to plan these things like a month, or at least a minimum of a month or two out, just so everybody has time to prepare, get ready, buy what they need to do. So the more time you can do for your organization of this, the better. Planning your wardrobe takes some time, and people, the excitement about getting ready for this is important too. And you don't need a lot of outfits, as I always talk about. It's quality over quantity. Keep it simple, bra sets and fishnet stockings. And if your photographer has like an outfit suggestion guide, these are simpler sessions. You don't have to go bananas with outfits. Usually with boudoir parties, it could be pretty simple. When usually you need one or two things to come in for a session like this. Sometimes the women want to do portraits together. I've had sessions where they all kind of dress similar, like in jeans, and sometimes they have like those bridal t-shirts, and they want to do some group portraits, not even everything, just even in underwear. Sometimes I just want to do some. I've had one group wanted to do all nice dress pictures because they were going out somewhere dressed in dresses afterwards. So work out all these details so that way everyone can prepare and get their outfits, which can take some time. It's not something you get to do. You can plan, and usually under a week. And remember, in addition to the cost, it can cost money getting clothing and stuff for this as well. So that's an expense in these sessions as well. Make sure everyone, if they're doing their nails, if they're doing any kind of waxing or tanning or whatever they're doing, get that all done well before your session day, so everyone is good to go. And then, as we always chat about, make sure everyone gets a good night's sleep and arrives on time the morning of that session. Put all your stuff together the night before. Plan your route. Know how long it's going to take you to get there. If someone's picking somebody up, just make sure everyone arrives on time, because you get there late, it's just going to push everything back, and you're not going to get out of there until later. You have reservations for a dinner or something, you're not going to make it. And so that's where your boudoir captain, again, needs to coordinate everything, make sure everyone's leaving on time, make sure everyone has their outfits, make sure everyone, if you're wearing, bridal, I'm Mrs. Jones' wedding t-shirt, make sure everyone has their t-shirts ready or whatever it is. And also check with the photographer, as I noted, whether they may be providing wine or snacks or music, or if you guys have to do that, and then the boudoir captain appoints someone to get all the beverages, and bring that stuff in for the session as well. And then, as I noted, if people are getting hair and makeup done, you may have to arrive way before your session time, because that can take a while, a long time, depending how many people are getting hair and makeup. And then sometimes, if there's any kind of group activities going on there, just coordinate that with the photographer. And I know that, I don't know who thought of this, but I know I've had a couple of groups that have wanted to do like a boudoir bachelorette party prop game, which was kind of fun to do. And I remember one woman I was talking to, like this is years and years ago, wanted to, like women get a little crazy. They get a little crazy when they go out for their bachelorette party. So they wanted to do something a little bit fun like that, and came up with this idea of doing like a grab bag, like an X-rated grab bag. And, there was all kinds of adult props and handcuffs in there and things, we want to keep this show kind of PG, but you can imagine. And the idea was that they had this grab bag, and each woman had to pick a number, and everything was numbered, and whatever she got, she had to pose with that prop. Kind of like get the idea, like handcuffs, things like that, and they had to use that. So that was like a fun thing to do. Women had a good time doing that. So if you're doing anything like a party prop game, that's fun to do with certain groups. Make sure someone organizes that, whether the photographer is getting all the props or you're bringing your own props. And you have a good time. It's fun. There for a couple hours, have some laughs, have a few drinks. And as we noted, communication is the key to a smooth party. Appointing your boudoir captain, keeping open lines of communication within the group and with the photographer. Don't have 85 people making arrangements and scheduling days because it'll turn out to be a mess. Have one person do that. Just be prepared, keep positive attitudes, focus on fun, having a good time. Don't drag people in who don't want to be there. Really Debbie Downers. And I'm not talking about just people who don't want to take part in the session. I mean, just make everyone there, have fun time. They're going to be enjoying themselves. Otherwise, don't come along. Don't ruin it for everybody else. So, as you can see, there can be a bit to do this. And, I get calls from time to time from somebody looking, oh, yeah, we're thinking of doing that. And how much does it cost? I'm like, well, it really depends on the group, like I said, and I have to explain everything to them. So there usually isn't a set package for this with photographers. It's all budget based. So, chat with your group about who's coming in, what their budget is. And I know you may not know what something like this costs, but at least come up with some kind of a number. Okay, we have 5 women. Maybe they're $400 or $500 each that they're in for this. Okay, our budget is like $2,000 to $3,000. Great, this is what we can do. So there isn't going to be a package like that with photographers. So you have to come up with your budget with your group and have at least a little bit of an idea of who's coming in and what's going on. And then at that point, the photographer can say, "Oh, great, you're working with X amount of money. We can break it down like this. We can get an album for the bride. You guys can get this, and And don't be so secretive or hidden about talking about the budget for this with the photographer, because I know if someone tells me, well, I don't know yet. Well, I don't know if I could tell. We just want to know. Well, how can I tell you if you don't know what you're going to be spending on this or who's coming or what's going on? So, and they're asking me if stuff's included. I said, it can be included if you want to pay for it. So at least have some rough idea of what's going on. Like I said, find out who wants to take part. Do the work, or make someone's in charge of selecting your photographer. That's a whole job in and of itself. There's a lot of stuff planning with this, coordinating with the photographer. And ultimately, the more planning you do, it'll go a lot smoother and everyone will enjoy their day. So boudoir parties can be a little bit tricky to plan, but if you have a good captain, things will go much smoother and it's fun. It's not an activity that everybody wants to do, but there are certain groups that have a great time doing this, and I've enjoyed it through the years. Have a lot of laughs. Women have a fun time. Usually wind up taking some kind of group photos together, and it's good. And like I said, and when everyone's done, they're all in a good mood, and then they pack up and they're off to their brunch, or they're off to their dinner, or they're off to their night out. So usually they're visiting me. It's like just part of a whole day that they have planned. So that's why it's important to keep everybody on track and on schedule. And I like it. I like it. But you got to be a little prepared as a group from exactly what you want to do, who's coming, what the budget is, and so forth and so forth. And then that way a photographer can help you in turn plan for what the group's budget is and what you guys can get and how long of a session and what's going to be involved. So know your details a little bit ahead of time. And it'll be fun. It'll be good for you. So that's all I got for you this week. It's a lot. Boudoir parties can be complicated, but you could do it. You could do it. And I think I have a couple blog posts on my blog talking about how to plan these, maybe a little bit more in detail. I think I'll link to a couple of those in these show notes. And it's fun to do if you're if you have the right group. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in this week. I'm just starting to thaw out now inside after being out in the 27 degrees for a couple hours today. It's good to be in here. Just relaxing for the rest of today. Do a little cleaning. Got to bring a little trash outside. And that's all I got. Just rehydrating myself. I'm going to relax for the rest of my snowy day. It's still snow everywhere outside. So if you're down south, enjoy your snow days. If you're in Texas, enjoy your snow days. For everybody else, it's just the way of life in the winter. It's not like such a big deal. It's funny how they make such a big deal out of it. You know, oh, we got 3 inches of snow. Oh, big deal. Big other parts of the country, but enjoy yourself. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll be back next week. So until then, bye-bye.